Good evening. Welcome to Inside City Hall for Monday, September 15th, 2025. I'm Errol Lewis. Almost 3 months after Zohran Mamdani won the Democratic primary for mayor, Governor Kathy Hochul has finally endorsed him, saying that he is likely to win in November. Our Dan Rivley joins me now with tonight's top story. Good evening, Dan.
Good evening, Errol. So Governor Hochul made this endorsement in the opinion pages of the New York Times, and in it she describes conversations she had with Mamdani about fighting anti-Semitism, homelessness, subway safety, and making sure New York City stays the center of the global economy. But she also repeatedly stressed how she doesn't agree with Mamdani on everything.
Now, I'm excited to welcome Governor Hochul to our movement.
After months of waiting, Zohran Mamdani, the Democratic nominee for mayor, is getting the endorsement of New York's top Democrat, Governor Kathy Hochul. She announced her support in a New York Times op-ed column, writing that Mamdani has the courage, urgency, and optimism New York City needs. But Hochul, who's up for re-election next year, on 4 occasions in the op-ed mentioned how much she disagrees with the Democratic Socialist. She reiterated that again and again on Monday while in the Syracuse region.
I've made it very clear that we have differences. I do not agree with many of his views. Yeah, I disagree with many statements, and I've said that.
So what does she like about him?
I believe that we need someone who's going to be open-minded and optimistic and have an attitude, a can-do attitude that I share.
Mamdani, at a rally in the Bronx for striking Teamsters, said he and the governor can find common ground on affordability.
With the governor, we've seen that focus has also been distilled specifically on the question of childcare.
The endorsement is a recognition the sitting mayor, Democrat Eric Adams, who is running as an independent, is unlikely to be sitting in City Hall next year. No matter to Adams.
These other folks, Curtis and Zohran, don't have a record. There's no getting away from that, and Andrew is running away from his. So,
to Republican Curtis Sliwa, this New York Post cover, Comrade Kathy, says it all.
As a result of her capitulation and waving the white flag and joining her comrade Zohran Mamdani in solidarity, clearly it jeopardizes both the state and the city. So if you vote Democrat, it is what you get.
And another politician who opined on the endorsement, President Donald Trump, always keeping an eye on politics in his hometown. He said on his Truth Social platform he found the endorsement shocking, threatened, again, to withhold federal money from New York City if Mamdani is ultimately elected, and then called Mamdani his little communist. Well, Mamdani said earlier at that news conference, he's no communist. He's just a democratic socialist who wants a greater redistribution of wealth. Errol?
It's really striking that people like Donald Trump, Andrew Cuomo, Eric Adams, they've all endorsed people in the past where they ended up having to get a little distance from them. This is just a normal part of the game to a certain extent, right?
Well, when you're the governor trying to run for re-election in a state, yeah, they do kind of separate themselves, right? Because they want to be their own person. And then you see Mamdani say, hey, welcome to our movement, while Kathy Hochul says, well, I spoke to him about my priorities. And look, she's got to run in places he doesn't have to run. But I think she does need Mamdani's base of young, affluent, upwardly mobile liberals who are attracted to his ideas on, for example, creating a free child care program.
Right. So that's what she gets out of it. I wonder what he gets out of it.
I think he gets something. One, he doesn't get someone criticizing him so much. He shows a little bit of unity that they are able to recognize he is going to win, and then voters are left with no illusions about how well he's doing in the polls and his likelihood of winning.
And, you know, because the state party basically serves the governor and the governor's preferences, I wonder if that means the state party, in effect, is going to end up endorsing him as well.
That would be interesting. And then what kind of role would they play? Do they still have influence with unions that didn't endorse him in the primary coming around and giving him some much-needed labor support that he really sorely lacked in the primary? That would be interesting to see, too.
All right. Thanks a lot, Dan. Meanwhile, New York Democrats are facing mounting pressure to support Zohran Mamdani's mayoral campaign. Maryland Senator Chris Von Hollen called out top Democrats over the weekend for dragging their feet. Kevin Fry in our Washington, D.C. bureau joins me now with more details on that. Good evening, Kevin.
Yeah, good evening, Errol. This was reported in the New York Times. It comes from remarks that Van Hollen, who represents, of course, the state of Maryland, made while appearing in Des Moines, Iowa. He said, in part, many Democratic members of the Senate and the House representing New York have stayed on the sidelines. That kind of spineless politics is what people are sick of. They need to get behind him and get behind him now. That's speaking, of course, of Mamdani. Now, in response, Jeffrey's team came out and really slapped back at this, a spokesperson saying that leader Hakeem Jeffries will have more to say about the general election in advance of November 4th. Meanwhile, confused New Yorkers are asking themselves the question, Chris Van who? Of course, it must be worth noting that Jeffries has repeatedly, over the last few weeks, been asked at his weekly press conferences here in Washington by myself and other members of the press about what exactly his plans are when it comes to an endorsement. For a while, it was stay tuned. Just last week, he said that he'll have an announcement coming in, quote, short order, so perhaps we'll get some sense there. Senator Schumer also facing similar pressure, and of course he has said that he is meeting with Mamdani, though we have yet to get any indication of if or when an endorsement is going to be coming on that front. I am reminded that last year when President Biden stepped aside in the race, these two also did hold off temporarily before they threw their full support behind Kamala Harris, and they did that at a joint event. I'm not previewing anything, but just to kind of contextualize how they've worked together in the past. One other voice that's weighing in on this haul today is Congressman Tom Suozzi on Long Island, and he very much, in response to what the governor put out in this op-ed overnight, said that he will not be endorsing Mamdani. No real surprise there. He has criticized him, suggested he might not even belong in the Democratic Party, saying that while I share his concern about the issue of affordability, I fundamentally disagree with his proposed solutions. Like the voters I represent, I believe socialism has consistently failed to deliver real, sustainable progress. And of course, Republicans here in Washington have been hitting Suozzi and his neighbor to the south, Democrat Laura Gillen, over Mamdani, trying to tie them to him in an effort to sink their chances at re-election in those two battleground districts come next year. One other notable line in that Suozzi message is that he says that I am not in a position to give the governor political advice, considering the fact that when I ran against her, she beat me soundly. And he's used that line a few times, a bit tongue-in-cheek. Errol?
Indeed. So now, Kevin, in all of these discussions, is anybody using the phrase big tent? I mean, the Democratic Party, you know, I mean, they represent tens of millions of Americans who are not necessarily going to all see the world the same way.
Yeah, I mean, and that has been part of the pressure campaign, seemingly, on Jeffries and Schumer. Think of what Congresswoman Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez has said, that basically the fight was done during the primary, and she is, you know, hopeful that the party will come together and thinks that it should. Of course, when I've asked her previously if she was frustrated with Jeffries and Schumer, she's kind of sidestepped that particular question. But as Democrats look to try to rebuild after 2024, when they, of course, lost all levers of power here in Washington, one would think that building out the tent is part of that puzzle. Of course, Senator Schumer and Jeffries are also looking at the larger puzzle pieces across the country in which battleground districts and battleground states they need to try to win back control of either chamber. And obviously, what we're seeing with Gillen and Suozzi probably is providing a little bit of a hesitation there, because that could be an albatross around Democrats' necks.
Is there a faction fight shaping up to possibly challenge Representative Jeffries' leadership?
I don't see that right now in the House of Representatives itself. If it is certainly under the surface. Right now, I think there is ultimately kind of a rallying around him should they win back control of the chamber. And part of the math here is that effectively being the minority leader only comes with so much power on Capitol Hill. And so Democrats tend to be pretty united, at least on the legislative front, even if they're disagreeing about whether or not he should be backing Mamdani, which I should say does not dominate conversations or at large within the Democratic coalition here. Even if that might be a division, there is plenty of agreement on the legislative priority end of things.
All right. Thanks very much, Kevin. Let's take a short break now. When we come back, we'll keep our focus on the race for mayor with a live report from Inwood. That's where Andrew Cuomo is meeting with bodega owners. Later on tonight, I'll be joined by City Controller Brad Lander to talk about a number of topics, including the race for mayor and why the buses we take are so slow. Stay with us.
Every day tells a new story. At Mornings on One, we're dedicated to bringing you the stories that matter most to start your day. With in-depth coverage of the day's developing news.
I'm Pat Kernan. Here are the stories we're following this morning.
And weather updates every 10 minutes.
Some morning sunshine possible, clouds take over.
It's our responsibility to get you the information you need before you head out the door. Mornings on One, weekdays starting at 6 on the Spectrum News app. Free for Spectrum customers.
You want to wiggle the hips a little bit.
Keep your left arm straight.
Elbow in, head down.
Adjust your grip. Visualize the approach.
That was good. Next time we'll go out on a real course.
Next time?
It's all about connecting with the fastest wireless speeds from Spectrum. And internet customers get one mobile line included for 1 year.
I'm Sandra, this is Jorge, and we were adopted in 2019. I remember when they first came to us, Michael was already a teenager. The whole cliche of, they're so lucky to have you guys, and it's the other way around. They have changed our family for the better. They chose to love us. They didn't have to. They chose us. Family.
Learn about adopting a teen from foster care. You can't imagine the reward. Visit adoptuskids.org.
And that's a look at some of what's in the papers this morning.
You done with the sports section?
Today's story is about the latest chapter for a beloved local business.
It's a beautiful day with temperatures in the 60s, but showers are expected in the next hour.
In a city that's always on the go, it's important to stop to hear the stories that connect us.
The news that matters to New Yorkers. That's what brings us together. That's Mornings on One.
Weekdays starting at 6.
Exclusively on Spectrum.
Welcome back to Inside City Hall. After a quiet day for his campaign, Andrew Cuomo is holding an event this evening in Inwood with the United Bodegas of America. And that's where we find our Ayanna Harry, who joins us now with the details. Good evening, Ayanna.
Good evening, Errol. Andrew Cuomo just wrapped up that meeting with about 75 bodega owners a short time ago. He did take a few questions before leaving the site here in Inwood. Andrew Cuomo wanted to focus his comments, his remarks, on the issue of affordability, particularly when it comes to grocery prices. But of course, we did also ask Cuomo about his former Lieutenant Governor, Kathy Hochul, who's now the current governor, endorsing his opponent in the race for mayor, Zohran Mamdani. Andrew Cuomo told us he did not seek out Kathy Hochul's endorsement, and that's not all.
I understand everybody makes their own political decision, but I am surprised because he has really extreme positions, right? He's in favor of legalizing prostitution, legalizing the drug trade. These were not, I do not believe New Yorkers support those positions. So I'm surprised she's adopted these extreme positions, but everybody makes their own political decision.
Zohran Mamdani has certainly made a name for himself as a candidate focused on affordability, and Cuomo is now trying to convince voters that he, too, can also focus on affordability, calling his plans a, quote, intelligent alternative to Zohran Mamdani wanting to open 5 city-run grocery stores in the 5 boroughs across the city. So how would Andrew Cuomo seek to make groceries more affordable? He wants to do so with grocery subsidies for 350,000 New Yorkers. He says these are people who typically don't fall or don't qualify for other food assistance programs, but are still in need of help. The price tag on this initiative, Andrew Cuomo is saying $250 million. He told us today he would pay for this through existing funding. by saving money on other projects throughout the city. Cuomo insisted this program is especially needed now in light of recent federal funding cuts.
There is an existing federal program called SNAP, the Supplemental Nutrition Assistance Program. The federal government has made significant cuts to that program that would devastate families in this state. And those cuts have to be reversed, or they have to be compensated by the state and the city.
Andrew Cuomo also insisted that by helping 350,000 New York City residents with grocery subsidies, that would also be a boost for local delis and convenience stores and bodegas. And during that meeting with about 75 bodega owners, Andrew Cuomo said another issue came up as urgent for these small business owners, and that is the issue of crime. And Andrew Cuomo said he discussed with them his plan to hire 5,000 more police officers. Errol.
So now, Ayanna, the idea would be that there'd be vouchers that this category of New Yorkers, 350,000 odd people, would have that they could carry into a bodega and get food in exchange.
That's precisely right, Errol. So what Andrew Cuomo has insisted is that when you set up city-run grocery stores in 5 boroughs, that only allows people one site in each borough to go to take care of the benefits. He's insisting that people would have an opportunity to go to the stores that they choose, to buy the foods that they choose, and in doing so, support local businesses. That's the argument that Andrew Cuomo is trying to make to voters and that he's trying to make to these small business owners. Several of them, as you can imagine, were not happy to hear about Zohran Mamdani's proposal for city-run grocery stores, 5 of them across the city.
Did the organization end up endorsing Andrew Cuomo tonight?
No, there was no endorsement tonight, Errol, but it was a pretty lengthy meeting. And when people came out of the meeting, I did get an opportunity to speak very briefly with some of the small business owners, and they seemed to be very impressed by what they heard. But again, them being impressed did not lead to an endorsement. And this is an organization that can be pretty powerful because they do represent more than 20,000 bodegas all across the city, Errol, but no endorsement tonight.
Okay, thanks very much, Ayanna. Meanwhile, a Long Island Railroad strike appears averted for now, although the unions representing the LIRR workers voted overwhelmingly to authorize the strike. The unions in the bargaining coalition decided to try another tactic instead, one that's rarely used. They're asking the White House to step in. New York One's Olivia Leach explains why.
Unfortunately, instead of working toward meaningful solutions at the bargaining table, the MTA and Long Island Railroad have chosen to demonize our members in the press. This is both disappointing and unacceptable.
The Long Island Railroad Bargaining Coalition, which represents 5 unions that make up more than half of the LIRR's unionized workforce, announced Monday that their members voted overwhelmingly to authorize a strike. But to spare riders the hassle, they say they've chosen not to go on strike and are now requesting that President Trump establish an emergency board, which would make recommendations that will hopefully lead to a resolution. LIRR commuters we talked to say they're relieved to hear service will continue this week.
Well, anyone in construction has no way to get to work. Everyone refuses to drive because of the whole congestion tax, so it's affecting everybody. So there's no other way to get to work other than taking the railroad now.
Yeah, I'm happy to hear that. It's very convenient for me when I'm taking the train in the morning time. So if the strike would have happened, I had to figure it out, and it would have forced me to take the subway.
The LIRR Bargaining Coalition says the members of their unions have gone 3 years without a raise. They say they're willing to accept the terms already decided on for 3 years. A 3% increase for the first 2 years, a 3.5% for the third year, but they're proposing a 6.5% increase for the 4th year.
This is not greedy. The MTA can afford it, and now it's time for them to take care of their workforce.
The MTA responded to Monday's developments with a statement saying, quote, after months of radio silence, these outlier unions have finally admitted that they weren't serious about negotiating. They never had a plan to resolve this at the bargaining table. If these unions want to put riders first, they would either settle or agree to binding arbitration. And if they don't want to strike, they should say so and finally show up to the negotiating table. We reached out to the Trump administration for comment, but have not heard back yet. This bargaining coalition says they're hopeful that the Presidential Emergency Board will help the two sides come to an agreement. But if there's an impasse in negotiations again, a strike could happen in January or even next May. At Penn Station, Olivia Leach, New York 1.
Also tonight, former federal prosecutor Maureen Comey filed a lawsuit against the Trump administration today. She wants to be reinstated after being fired back in July. In the lawsuit, Comey says that her dismissal was unconstitutional and made for political reasons because her father is a former FBI director, James Comey, who was also fired by the Trump administration in 2017. Here's what one former federal prosecutor had to say about the case.
Federal prosecutors are typically civil servants. They're not political appointees. And if you remove them en masse, or if you're targeting individuals, it raises a lot of red flags about executive overreach.
Comey says she was not provided a reason for her firing. We're going to take a short break now, and when we come back, we'll bring you new details about the investigation into that alleged shooter of Charlie Kirk. Stay with us. This election year is all about New York City. There are 51 council seats up for grabs, races for our next city comptroller and the next public advocate.
Plus, an unprecedented race for mayor. That puts the power in your hands to decide who will run our city.
Our team of political experts will be covering every angle of this election to keep you informed on how it could affect you, so you can feel confident with your decision at the polls.
Stay with Spectrum News New York 1 for Decision 2025, exclusively on Spectrum.
Okay, why Lucas should have a phone. 1, you can always get in touch with me. 2, think of all the new photos I can send you.
Get to the money.
Plus, with Spectrum Internet, we get 1 unlimited mobile line included for a year. I even used the Spectrum Savings Calculator. And you know what it said? Savings.
That was actually pretty good.
He's impressive.
Internet customers get 1 mobile line included for 1 year. From Spectrum.
Mom was always organized, but she started forgetting to pay her bills on time.
And she'd buy the same gifts over and over.
Telling the girls about my Alzheimer's diagnosis was really hard. At first, we had our cries, but then we were like, okay, let's make a plan.
Early detection gave us time to adapt together.
It's so important for you to think about what you can do and making the most of what you have.
If you or your family are noticing changes, it could be Alzheimer's. Talk about seeing a doctor together.
From my time growing up in Queens watching New York 1 to my time reporting here, I've seen how quickly a story can change. At News All Day, we bring you the news as it's happening, from around the boroughs to local government to your neighborhood. Because our city never stops moving.
3, 2, 1.
Hi, I'm Shannon Ferry with the day's developing stories. But first,
stay up to date and informed with News All Day, weekdays from noon to 4.
Welcome back to Inside City Hall. The Washington Post is reporting that the suspect in that killing of conservative activist Charlie Kirk appears to have confessed in an online chat with friends. This comes as top Trump administration officials continue to threaten a government crackdown on left-wing organizations that they blame for political violence, even though Utah's governor has said that the suspect acted alone. Spectrum News national reporter Evan Kosloff has more from Washington, D.C.
We are looking at the facts.
FBI Director Kash Patel sharing new information about the 22-year-old accused of killing Charlie Kirk, saying investigators found DNA evidence tying Tyler Robinson to the firearm used in the shooting. While the motive has not yet been released, Patel said the suspect had a, quote, left-wing ideology, according to his family, and that investigators recovered a text message from the suspect that could offer clues.
He claimed that he had an opportunity to take out Charlie Kirk and he was going to do it because of his hatred for what Charlie stood for.
Utah's Governor Spencer Cox also confirming that the suspect was in a romantic relationship with a transgender person, but that this person has been, quote, incredibly cooperative and had, quote, no idea that this was happening. On Monday, there was also this new reporting from the Washington Post that the suspect took to the online platform Discord messaging a group of friends shortly before turning himself in, writing, "Hey guys, I have bad news for you all. It was me at UVU yesterday. I'm sorry for all of this."
JD Vance here, live from my office in the White House complex.
Also on Monday, Vice President J.D. Vance, a close friend of Kirk's, took over his podcast.
He has become a titan.
He was joined by members of the White House, cabinet members, and conservative commentators.
There's incredible anger.
Deputy Chief of Staff Stephen Miller outlined a plan to crack down on the, quote, terrorist network that he accused of sponsoring this type of violence. But he presented no evidence that this kind of network exists. Vice President Vance also taking a fiery tone as he accused many on the left of using violent rhetoric.
Are these people violent? I hope not. But are they guilty of encouraging violence? You damn well better believe it.
Well, the problem is on the left.
The criticism echoes comments by President Donald Trump, even though Democratic leaders have roundly condemned Kirk's assassination.
Political violence in any form against any American is unacceptable.
Meanwhile, those close to Kirk are paying tribute to his legacy.
We remember that our dear friend Charlie would never want us to be overcome by despair.
And on Capitol Hill, this political assassination has sparked new concerns about safety as members of Congress want more security. The White House is also requesting some $58 million in new security funding for the executive and judicial branches. For now, reporting here in Washington, I'm Evan Kozloff, Spectrum News.
It is time for a break. Coming up, I'll be joined in studio by City Controller Brad Lander to talk about the latest in the race for mayor and much more. Stay with us.
My time at New York One has shown me that in the city that never sleeps, the news never stops. So as the day winds down, turn to the rush hour.
Good afternoon, I'm Monica Kirk.
To catch up on the stories that matter across the 5 boroughs, with in-depth interviews from the city's newsmakers, plus the latest forecast. Catching you up with today, preparing you for tomorrow. Right here on the Rush Hour. Weekdays from 4 to 7 p.m.
Watch this. I can make it hotter, I can make it colder. Hotter, colder from my phone. Smart birdhouse. Even the birds have Spectrum Wi-Fi. Who likes treats? You do. That's right. Yes, you do.
Very impressive, son.
And one more.
Nice.
Can I change colors? Launch party mode. Yeah.
It's all about connecting with the fastest, most reliable internet from Spectrum.
I'm Chris Jakovic. I served in the United States Air Force and I deployed 3 times. So in 2017, I was serving as an Air Force First Sergeant. Our motto in that role is my job is people, everyone is my business. But unfortunately in that year, I would lose my own brother, Lance Corporal Adam Jakovic, to suicide. The majority of veteran suicides are from guns. I store my weapons securely, not only for myself, but for my family. My service never stops.
At Spectrum Noticias, we recognize that our New York City community is vibrant and diverse.
Spectrum Noticias delivers balanced coverage of the stories that matter in our communities and across the country.
Our journalists are based in the neighborhoods we cover, ensuring you get in-depth reporting on what's happening in the places we call home.
So join us at Spectrum Noticias. We're always on, always there for you.
Now available on your TV. Check your local listings. Also available on the Spectrum News app.
Welcome back to Inside City Hall, where we are turning back to tonight's top story. Governor Kathy Hochul has officially endorsed Zohran Mamdani for mayor, and that move comes weeks after growing pressure from progressive Democrats to unite behind the Democratic nominee. In an op-ed, Governor Hochul explained her decision, saying that while they had some disagreements, quote, "I heard a leader who is focused on making New York City affordable, a goal I enthusiastically support. The governor's stamp of approval is a big win for Mamdani, who is yet to receive endorsements from other top Democrats, including Senate Minority Leader Chuck Schumer and House Minority Leader Hakeem Jeffries. Joining me now to talk some politics and about his day job, we've got New York City Controller Brad Lander. Welcome back to the program. Always good to see you.
Great to be here.
We'll do the politics first, then we'll get to some other issues. Is the governor's endorsement too late to help? Is it helpful? What do you think?
No, I think it's a big deal. I give her credit for doing it, especially with the spirit of it's time for us to come together. Okay, it's after Labor Day, the race is on, but also Donald Trump is waiting in the wings, sending troops into other cities. New Yorkers have to come together. The affordability agenda is important. Positive vision for the future. I give the governor credit, and I hope other Democratic leaders will join her.
Does it matter to the outcome of the race for mayor who or whether the Senate Minority Leader and the House Minority Leader actually make any endorsements here?
To me, it's actually less a question of the outcome of the race and more a question of the unity of Democrats, but also of New Yorkers at this really urgent time. I think suggesting to Trump or to others that we're divided when we see what's happening in Washington or Chicago or Los Angeles, it'd be better if we've got unity.
Okay, let's talk about unity and solidarity. How often do you talk with the Democratic nominee?
You know, I won't characterize the private conversations. We were honored last Wednesday night.
I just said how often. Not what you talk about.
Yes, I mean, we see each other at events in public where it's hard to have a private conversation with them, and then we talk privately once a week or so as well.
Okay, and what do you make of reports that President Trump is trying to make this into a two-man race?
I mean, the fact that Trump is alleged to be trying to clear the field or was trying to clear the field for Andrew Cuomo, and that Andrew Cuomo said he was fine with that or happy with it, that should be disqualifying all by itself. This is where I think when that happened, every Democrat should have come out and said, whoa, if Andrew Cuomo's happy with Donald Trump's help, we know which side we're on, and that's Zohran Mamdani's.
Well, I mean, what's the alternative, though? I mean, if the president steps in and wants to help clear the field for Andrew Cuomo, should he say, please don't, or I don't care, or I don't want that? That's exactly what he wanted.
He said that's what he wanted. He's playing footsie with it. But, like, is he on Donald Trump's side against Democrats, on Donald Trump's side against New York City? So, yeah, I mean, I guess if Andrew Cuomo and Donald Trump are peas in a pod, to me, Democrats, all Democrats, should say, okay, we're on the other side. We're going to support Zohran. As the governor said, you don't have to agree with them on every single issue, but he's got a focus on affordability, a positive vision for the future of the city. Let's build around that, show our unity, and move forward.
I'm sure you have heard the chattering classes, I guess of which I am a member, speculating that Brad Lander might be part of a Mamdani administration if he should win. What can you tell us about that?
Well, people say to me, is it too early to ask what you'll be doing next? And I say, it's not too early for you to ask, but it is too early for me to answer.
Interesting. Well, when I spoke with him last week, Zohran Mamdani said that he has made no promises of any job to anybody, and that he's not going to be thinking about transition or working on transition or even forming a transition committee until after the election, which seems a little bit late. When you were the primary nominee for controller 4 years ago, your transition probably started before November.
Well, not publicly. I mean, the challenge is, of course, you can't announce an official transition committee or say anything public like that till after the election. So you're doing things behind, well, I can just say what I did 4 years ago for controller. I was doing a lot behind the scenes to get ready, talking to people, making sure I would be ready, so that as soon as the election was over, right afterwards, I could roll out a transition committee and a real clear plan.
Yeah, I mean, that's kind of what I'm curious about, because, you know, frankly, as a New Yorker who's going to be affected by whatever comes out of City Hall about 100 odd days from now, I'd like to think that people were maybe making some plans.
I mean, look, I'm focused as a, sitting elected official. I'm, and doing my job as in my, political capacity, focused on helping make sure he wins in November. It's appropriate for, members of the press like you, as you did the other day, to ask him questions. What are your policies are going to be? How are you getting ready? Those aren't for me to answer. Okay,
let's talk about the question I have that everybody has. It's a big part of the race, of course, is the cost of housing. I've spoken with people who say that a big component, that will be addressed beyond the relatively small measure of freezing the rent are things like the high taxes that the apartment owners have. The cost of insurance, which is extremely high. You've developed housing. You know about these. You've run housing for a nonprofit organization. Is there any thought to sort of using those big leverages to move big numbers as opposed to a temporary freeze that did nothing to halt the upward march of prices in New York?
I mean, I would say it's both and. Obviously, if you're a rent-stabilized tenant, as a third of New Yorkers are, not having your rent go up is a big deal for you if you're not getting a big increase in your salary, and that helps you, meet all your other costs. But yes, these other things are absolutely critical. Insurance is one good example. I talk to building owners, not only who are paying insane prices for insurance, but in some cases can't even get insurance for affordable housing. So is there a great opportunity for the city and the state and, private actors together to come together and say, what could we do to address the crisis of insurance on multifamily and affordable housing in New York City? Absolutely.
And that's not incompatible with what you've heard from Zohran?
Not at all. Quite the opposite. It goes together. You want to keep rents down. Let's help owners cover some of the costs they can. Look at property tax reform in Albany. Look at support for affordable insurance.
Let's talk about your recent report. You graded MTA buses. 186 of them got a D or an F. I think only a handful got an A.
Seven.
Out
of 332 bus lines.
Well, I thought congestion pricing was supposed to cure a lot of
Congestion pricing actually did make it a little better. We looked at the bus routes in the congestion pricing zone, and they're actually meaningfully more on time. But the problem is indeed much bigger. And yes, 56% of buses get a D or an F. In Manhattan, the average speed of some buses is 5 miles an hour.
Why is that?
Well, one, they really are caught in traffic all the time. So where there are dedicated bus lanes, that makes a big difference, and we need more of them. Like to get the MTA to do all-door boarding. They now have an Omni reader in the back of every bus, but they're still not letting people get on at both doors out of fear of fare evasion. So there are really good next steps here, and that's why, Assemblymember Mamdani's plan to focus on buses, that's something the city and the MTA have to work together on, but more dedicated bus lanes, all-door boarding, more transit signal priority where the bus can move, through a green that lasts a little longer, can speed up buses a lot.
Yeah, making people get on the front. I mean, as far as fare evasion, if they walk past and don't pay, there's no consequences anyway. Right?
And obviously, like on the train, you get on the train and then, a staff comes through to make sure you pay. There's a lot of ways to do this more effectively.
Yeah, absolutely. Real quick, an audit done by your office found that legally required services were denied to English language learners, people who were basically what used to be called English as a second language.
That's right.
Why is that happening?
Yeah, so 48% of kids that speak Spanish or Chinese or Bangla or Arabic aren't getting the services they're supposed to. We're having a hard time recruiting language competent teachers. 40% of the people even teaching those classes don't have language capacities. Of course, it's a resource issue and just a focus issue. This is almost 20% of our students. It's important to give them the services they need.
What's the recommendation?
Well, luckily they accepted most of the recommendations to increase recruitment of the teachers for these classes.
Okay, very good. Thanks very much, Brad Lander. Great talking with you. We are going to take a break now. When we come back, we'll turn back to the race for mayor when I'm joined by two top political consultants. Stay with us.
If it's the theater you love, then we've got just the ticket. On Stage is your all-access pass to Broadway, off-Broadway, and the best live entertainment in the city. The interviews and backstage exclusives. All that's made On Stage the go-to source for entertainment for over 20 years. Join us every Saturday and Sunday at 7:30 p.m. for On Stage. Also available on the Spectrum News app. I'll see you at the theater, exclusively on Spectrum.
Your entertainment the way you want it. With Spectrum TV, all these streaming apps are included at no extra cost. So you can watch anything. Movies, series, sports, reality, news.
Here's a look at today's top stories.
Exclusive originals.
We await your orders.
And even more of your favorites with live TV. Stream across your devices and enjoy anywhere.
See you later.
Get it all with Spectrum TV.
I'm an ex-drug dealer, and I'll be your sub today. Two milligrams of fentanyl can be lethal. A lethal dose is in here. Who gets it, I won't know.
It's cheap, it's potent, and it's profitable. The sad reality is fentanyl is being mixed into everything now.
More kitchen now.
My father was a New York City firefighter. My mission, like his, is to serve New Yorkers in a city that doesn't stop when the sun goes down. Being with New York One since the beginning, I'm now honored to join you even earlier each weeknight. Starting at 8 with New York Tonight, we'll explore the latest news developments, followed by New York One at 10 to wrap up your day. So join me each weeknight starting at 8 right here on New York One.
Disagree with many statements, and I've said that. But also, I believe that we need someone who's going to be open-minded and optimistic and have an attitude, a can-do attitude that I share about knowing that the city's best days still do lie ahead.
Welcome back to Inside City Hall. That was Governor Kathy Hochul talking about her official endorsement of Zohran Mamdani for mayor. The governor joins a slowly growing circle of big-name Democrats who have been reluctant to throw their support behind Mamdani. Joining me now to talk about that and much more are the members of this week's Consultants Corner. Democratic consultant Alyssa Katz previously worked on Scott Stringer's mayoral campaign. Democratic consultant Lupe Todd Medina previously worked on Adrienne Adams' mayoral campaign. Thank you both for being here. So do these endorsements from somebody like Kathy Hochul even matter? Is it a big deal? I mean, he got as far as he did without any support from her, right?
I think the Democratic establishment getting behind Zohran Mamdani is an important deal. It's not the biggest deal, but it matters. You've seen national Democrats outside of New York sort of lead the way in doing this, and the rest of our Democratic leadership should be doing the same. The success of New York City is in the interest of every Democrat here in New York City, in New York State, and across the country. And ensuring a successful mayoralty for the man who's who's going to be the next mayor of New York is critically important for the city, the state, and Democrats nationally.
I know you've done some stuff with Hakeem Jeffries. His name keeps coming up. Why isn't Hakeem Jeffries going to endorse him? Same question as for the governor, right? Does it even matter for Mamdani whether or not certain big-name Democrats get behind it?
I agree with Alyssa. I think it does matter in the sense of you want to see a coalescing around the Democratic nominee, but I don't think that should be the sole reason why you do the endorsement. You know, I think that you want to make sure that your priorities, your district, your state, the issues that are concerning for you as a Democrat, whatever Democrat you are, is being heard. And I think that's where we're at when people are talking about, you know, the Democratic leader, they're talking about Jeffries, or they're talking about Hochul, or they're talking about Schumer. I think some of it has to do with the fact they just want to make sure that they're being heard, because he incredibly won that primary without their help. He incredibly won that primary by building a new base of the Democratic Party. But okay, now you need all of us. So before we're going to throw our hat in the ring with you, let me tell you what, you know, my community needs, or what my issues are. I don't think anybody should be so critical of them that they want to do that. I think what Governor Hochul did was fantastic. I thought the editorial was terrific.
Yeah, I mean, like any other kind of an alliance or potential alliance, there's a deal to be struck, right? And there are going to be terms. You don't just do it without sort of exchanging some ideas and maybe even some promises, right?
An endorsement at this level is always an opportunity to make sure there's a discussion and alignment around ideas, and maybe get certain guarantees or agreements or understanding in place. It's your one opportunity to do so. I think it was a good day, a great day for Zohran, a great day for Governor Hochul, and enters the final stretch of this election, which is increasingly less competitive, from a real position of strength. I also think it was a really great day for the Democratic Party. You're marrying sort of the executive leadership and pragmatic mainstream, Democratic instincts of Kathy Hochul with the energy, enthusiasm, and excitement of Zohran Mamdani. That's a pathway forward for Democrats in New York, and what I think people like me would really like to see more of.
Okay, yeah, we were just showing footage of the governor was at my church yesterday.
Yeah.
Didn't breathe a word of any of this, but that's okay. So when it comes to what this will do for Governor Hochul's chances, it, of course, is not too soon to start thinking about the 2026 re-election campaign that she's putting together.
Can I tell you, I thought one of the greatest things with the editorial that she put out today was you actually saw that softer side, almost like human side of Kathy Hochul, her talking about the way she was raised. I don't think a lot of people knew that about her. I mean, I did, but I don't think a lot of people knew that about her, that she was not born with a silver spoon in her mouth. She talked about, she was very specific, talked about like the Spam sandwiches with the day-old bread and things like that. I think people got to see that part of her. So when she's talking about affordability, she's talking about it from a place of lived experience, and I think that was great for her.
Yeah, I mean, Zohran Mamdani put together reconstituted the electorate here in New York City with a message of affordability that hit almost every New York voter other than the wealthiest New Yorkers. That's a message in a coalition that Kathy Hochul should want and will be looking to duplicate. It was a recipe for success for him in the city, and I think she's poised to do the same. I think we all saw, some tough headlines, but those were from people that were always going to be on tough on Kathy Hochul.
Yeah, I wanted to ask you about those headlines, like the front page of the New York Post. I mean, does red baiting even work anymore? I mean, the Soviet Union went out of existence in 1991.
I had the same reaction.
I didn't understand it.
I don't think people are afraid of. I don't know that many people. There's a huge chunk of the electorate that is never thinking about or hearing the word
communism. They don't know, especially the base that he built. They were born after all of that, so they don't even get that. A lot of them, they are picking the people that they're voting for on like social issues. It's not about race. It's not about where you live or where you came from. It's like social issues. So it's a very different kind of voter.
Yeah, as somebody who grew up in the shadow, I mean, really at the peak of the Cold War, it was the news every day, every week, year after year after year after year. And so it made a certain impression. But I'm thinking, there are a lot of people who are glad to be past that, and then there's some people who never knew anything about it, and you kind of wonder what they're talking about.
It was a consummate New York Post cover. I think us New Yorkers could have a good chuckle that the Post was really posting hard. But I think for everyday New Yorkers, I'm not sure it hit it hit a note.
Okay, let's take a short break. I've got more to talk about with these consultants. We'll do that in 2 minutes. Stay with us. Here's the deal. People need a place to explore national issues that have an impact on their community. To understand those issues better, we're bringing together our team of local political journalists from across the country to break down what's happening. So join us every week to catch up on the key stories making a big difference across the nation and in your local community.
Watch The Big Deal with Errol Lewis Friday nights at 9 on Spectrum News New York 1. Available on all of your favorite devices exclusively on Spectrum.
My name is Gail, and we are in my showroom for Florist Fire Design House. Getting Spectrum set up for my business was extremely smooth. They had it set up within an hour, and I was online and ready to go and run my business. Spectrum helps me stay online. I have to be able to be online at 5 a.m. when the market's open. Without Spectrum, it wouldn't be possible.
Get up to 4 months free when you bundle award-winning internet. Visit spectrum.com/business to learn more.
Every day tells a new story. At Mornings on One, we're dedicated to bringing you the stories that matter most to start your day. With in-depth coverage of the day's developing news.
I'm Pat Kernan. Here are the stories we're following this morning.
And weather updates every 10 minutes.
Some morning sunshine possible, clouds take over.
It's our responsibility to get you the information you need before you head out the door. Mornings on One. Weekdays starting at 6 on the Spectrum News app. Free for Spectrum customers.
Welcome back to Inside City Hall, where I am once again joined by my Consultants Corner. We have Democratic consultants Alyssa Cass and Lupe Todd Medina. The mayor has told people, including some reporters have gotten wind from some of the mayor's people, that he is looking for another job, right? He's upset. He made some comments today about how the media is making it up. Everybody's making it up. I don't want to name some of the sources, but there are people very close to him who have said, yeah, you know, not just that it's happening, but like, I am the emissary. I've been talking to people. Stuff is happening. Why do both? Either you're looking for a job or you're running hard, flat out, trying to win the election. You can't do both at the same time.
Well, but here's the thing. Even if he's out of this election, he's still on the ballot, right? So unless he is going to readily, physically move to New Jersey finally, or you know, he passes away, he's going to be on the ballot. So I think that's where he's having that kind of push and pull. I mean, he just got an endorsement on Saturday from, you know, the Vulcans and some other people in Brooklyn. So I think that's where he's having this kind of...
The Grand Council of Guardians, which is the umbrella group of black cops. I mean, that's the base of the base of the base where he started.
The most leverage Eric Adams has in getting a sweet job at the best landing pad he can is while he's still in this, while he's still mayor and still in the race. So from you know, optimizing the opportunities ahead of you, you want to stay in the race, seem like you're still fighting while you search for that job, because the second you're out, you know, you have less market value.
Yeah, sure. I'm a little surprised though that you know, no officials have endorsed him, and I'm thinking.
Curtis Sliwa got endorsed in Brooklyn by Jamie Williams.
Yes.
So,
well, a mayor who has, you know, a lot more clout and contracts and personnel and all kinds of favors to dispense, I would think you could pick off somebody.
We're what, 6 weeks out and he's at 8%? People want to be with the winner.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, the standard response, and I'm sure you've heard this from some of your clients, is, oh, the polls are always wrong, or, you know, the polls were wrong.
No, none of my clients are saying that. No, all of my clients are saying the polls look right this time.
Yeah, and I guess for the mayor to be looking elsewhere suggests that somebody, and maybe even him, are believing some of these polls.
Yeah, I think that whether he's in the race today, tomorrow, or 5 days from now, this race is over for Eric Adams. I think it's a measure of where and when, and if he gets out before. Although I have spent so many nights, so many days playing New York City's now favorite parlor game. When does Eric Adams drop out? So I am out of the prediction game because I have been wrong many times.
Yeah, I'm more of the believe it when I see it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, give some advice to Andrew Cuomo. What should he be doing? I guess he picked up an endorsement today, but he's had a fairly muted schedule. Has he changed enough from what didn't work in the primary?
Well, I think he took too long to bring in some new blood onto his campaign. It took way too long to do that. It took him, I think, also very long to get inside of a mosque and other things that he was not comfortable doing. It took him too long, and I think it's been too late as a result for him.
There are things that Andrew Cuomo's changed about the structure of his campaign, being out there more, doing more on social media, but other things have changed as well. Some of his fundamental strengths that he entered the primary in, you know, back in February. He entered with a presumption of being a winner, with strength and with deep institutional support. All of the institutional support, all of those things have dissipated. So while you can tinker at the edges with more appearances and more tweets, the fundamental premise of what he was offering as a candidate, I think, has largely collapsed.
And he's also stopped talking about it, too. He's spending too much time trying to tell us what Zohran isn't or what Zohran is and how that's a problem. instead of telling us what you're going to do.
Yeah, that was what I was going to ask next, is that I thought it was a fundamental, isn't it a fundamental strategic mistake? Isn't that what you guys tell your clients? It's like, don't talk about the other guy. Don't even mention their name if you can get away with it, right?
Yeah.
Why?
Especially when your opponent is a now international phenomenon like Zohran Mamdani. And I think, you know, the only thing that has changed is sort of his calculus or how the path to getting there, which I think, you know, it is really hard to see. The idea that Staten Island Republicans are going to vote for Andrew Cuomo and not Curtis Sliwa is really hard. You know, no poll supports that, and it's really hard for me to believe, and it's just simply not what we're seeing.
Yeah, what I find a little confusing, or at least not necessarily coherent, I'd love to talk to him if they would come in for an interview, is that they're both trying to scare people about Mamdani. But I also see, at least in the Cuomo camp, and to a certain extent Eric Adams as well, they seem to be trying to take away his base as well. They're trying to sort of, you know, they're going to the mosques. They're, you know, hiring social media and trying to sort of change up the tone in a way that's designed to appeal to younger voters.
But it won't work. And the reason why it won't work is that they're, again, doing something that both of them did during the primary. It was the scare tactic. They're trying to scare you. It didn't work. Zohran ran a happy campaign. He showed hope, promise, excitement, you know, join me, you know, and jump in Coney Island with me and talk about, you know, rent freeze. Like, he was doing stuff that was fun. Yeah. It's not going to work. You guys tried that last time. It didn't work.
When's the last campaign anywhere, in your experience, where the scare tactic even succeeded? I'm trying to
Giuliani. When he ran for mayor.
In '93, is that what you're talking about? When he, against Dinkins?
What certainly hasn't worked is the same argument. There was Andrew Cuomo made an argument in the primary that was resoundingly defeated. Yeah. And trying to make that same argument in just a slightly different, but just in slightly different mediums, doesn't change the nature of the argument. If folks weren't scared by Zohran Mamdani when he was an unknown state, a relatively unknown state legislator, they're certainly not scared of him now when he has been embraced by the Democratic establishment, by people like Barack Obama and now Kathy Hochul, and has been everywhere and anywhere.
Yeah, I mean, I always thought that the scare tactic was, you know, would always crash upon the fact that when you meet the person, he's not that scary. No. Right? So, I mean, if he had a temper, or if he scowled, or if he attacks people, or if he, you know, said crazy things, you would say, oh, well, you know, maybe this is somebody I should be wary of. But he's just the opposite. He just seems like a friendly young man.
And I think what's fundamentally the scariest thing to New Yorkers is the status quo. We're living in a city that isn't working for the vast majority of New Yorkers. And Andrew Cuomo, who represents the status quo, is definitely scarier to New Yorkers than trying something new.
Interesting. Okay. Thank you for your insight. Great talking with the both of you. That is going to do it for tonight's show. Thanks for watching and have a great evening. We'll see you next time inside City Hall.
And that's a look at some of what's in the papers this morning.
You done with the sports section?
Today's story is about the latest chapter for a beloved local business.
It's a beautiful day with temperatures in the 60s. But showers are expected in the next hour.
In a city that's always on the go, it's important to stop to hear the stories that connect us.
The news that matters to New Yorkers. That's what brings us together. That's Mornings on One.
Weekdays starting at 6.
Exclusively on Spectrum.
My name is Gail, and we are in my showroom for Florist Fire Design House. We are a full production wedding and event company that focuses on florals. Getting Spectrum set up for my business was extremely smooth. They were here the same day, had it set up within an hour, and I was online and ready to go and run my business. You know, I have to be able to be online at 5 a.m. when the market's open. And if I'm contacting a merchant via email or placing an order online, without Spectrum, it wouldn't be possible.
One more row.
Spectrum is reliable, they're committed, they're fast.